Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The air in Genoa City on Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, feels unnaturally heavy, as if the town itself senses that nothing will ever be the same again, because behind closed doors, whispered confessions and explosive confrontations collide in a perfect storm of chaos. Beginning at the Newman Ranch where Victor Newman stands rigid by the fireplace, his eyes cold but burning with rage as Nick, Victoria, and Nikki finally confront him with the truth they uncovered. Proof that Victor secretly orchestrated a chain of events that led directly to Diane's terrifying gunshot ordeal, and as Nikki's hands tremble holding the evidence, her voice cracks when she asks the man she once loved whether any of it mattered, whether family ever truly came before power, and Victor's silence is more damning than any confession could be, especially when he finally utters the words that shatter Nikki's last illusion, that sacrifices are necessary and casualties are inevitable. A declaration that pushes Nick to the edge as he explodes, accusing his father of destroying everyone he touches, while Victoria, torn between loyalty and revulsion, demands to know how far Victor was willing to go. Did he manipulate Jack, blackmail Diane, and threaten Nikki's sobriety just to maintain control? And Victor's chilling response that control is survival sends a fracture through the Newman family that may never heal. While across town at the Abbott mansion, Jack Abbott is reeling from his own reckoning as Diane, pale and shaken, finally reveals what she overheard the night everything changed. A disgusting secret involving Jack and Nikki that was never meant to surface. A secret that implicates both of them in a past betrayal far darker than anyone suspected. And as Jack listens in horror, realizing that his silence years ago set the stage for today's violence, Diane's voice breaks as she admits she was forced to fire the gun not out of malice, but out of terror, believing her life was moments from being erased, and when Jack reaches for her hand, she pulls away, no longer certain whether he was ever truly her protector or just another man who let ambition outweigh humanity. While meanwhile at Crimson Lights, Phyllis Summer senses the ground shifting beneath her feet as rumors spread faster than she can control. And when she overhears Sharon and Chance discussing an investigation that's closing in on her involvement in manipulating evidence tied to Matt's death, Phyllis's confident smirk fades into something raw and desperate, because for the first time, she realizes she may not be able to talk her way out of this one, especially when Chance confirms that a key witness has come forward, someone Phyllis believed was silenced forever, and panic sets in as she makes a reckless decision that could either save her or expose her completely. While at Society, Adam Newman sits alone nursing a drink, watching the reflections of shattered families in the glass around him, until Sally arrives with news that changes everything. Documents proving Victor not only knew about Matt's violent tendencies but quietly enabled them to serve his own agenda. And Adam's jaw tightens as years of resentment crystallize into something far more dangerous than anger, resolve. Because this time, Adam isn't seeking approval, he's seeking justice, even if it means burning the Newman empire to the ground. While at the hospital, tension reaches a breaking point as Sienna awakens, weak but alive, and whispers 3 words to Nick that send chills down his spine, words that confirm Matt didn't act alone, and that someone powerful ordered everything from the shadows. And Nick realizes with sickening clarity that the nightmare is far from over. While elsewhere Mariah and Tessa cling to each other as Ian Ward's name resurfaces in connection with a secret alliance that threatens to unravel the fragile peace they fought so hard to protect. And when Mariah receives a cryptic message warning her to stay silent or lose everything, fear grips her heart as she wonders how many lives Ian is willing to destroy to reclaim control. While at the police station, Chance struggles with his conscience as pressure mounts from powerful forces demanding he slow the investigation, and when he refuses, knowing the truth is finally within reach, he places a target on his own back. While the episode barrels toward its final moments with one last devastating reveal as Nikki confronts Jack in a quiet, painful exchange that exposes the full scope of their shared past mistake, a moment of weakness that spiraled into decades of lies. And as Diane watches from a distance, realizing the people she trusted most are far more broken than she ever imagined, the camera lingers on her haunted expression, because she knows the truth has only begun to surface. And as sirens echo through Genoa City and alliances crumble under the weight of guilt, ambition and betrayal, one thing becomes terrifyingly clear. No one is innocent anymore. The past is demanding payment, and by the time the sun rises on the final day of the year, at least one life, one family, and one legacy will be destroyed forever. As night deepens over Genoa City and the illusion of control finally slips through the fingers of its most powerful players, the fallout from the day's revelations turns feral, beginning at the Newman Ranch where Victor Newman, no longer pretending to be the architect behind the curtain, coldly summons Chance and delivers a thinly veiled threat disguised as concern, reminding him that careers, reputations, and lives have a way of collapsing when inconvenient truths surface. Yet Chance, hardened by everything he's seen, refuses to back down, and when he leaves, Victor's composed mask cracks for the first time, because he knows the walls are closing in faster than even he anticipated. While upstairs, Nikki sits alone in the bedroom, staring at her reflection as memories she buried decades ago claw their way back to the surface, memories of a night she and Jack never meant to repeat or confess, a moment of weakness that spiraled into blackmail, manipulation, and bloodshed. And when Victor confronts her, demanding loyalty over truth, Nikki finally snaps, accusing him of using her past as a weapon to keep her silent. And in a moment that stuns even Victor, she tells him she's done protecting him, done sacrificing her soul so he can keep his empire intact. And as Victor watches her walk away, something close to fear flickers in his eyes, because Nikki knows secrets that could dismantle everything. While across town at the Abbott mansion, Jack and Diane's fragile ceasefire shatters completely when Diane receives an anonymous package containing surveillance photos proving Jack knew someone was watching her the night the gun went off and chose not to warn her, believing the danger would scare her into silence. And when Diane confronts him, her voice trembling with fury and betrayal, Jack tries to justify his choice as protection, but Diane sees the truth clearly now, that Jack, like Victor, believed he could control the fallout without caring who got hurt. And when she slaps him, the sound echoes like a gunshot, sealing the end of any trust that might have survived, while meanwhile Phyllis Summers, unraveling faster than she ever has before, races against time as Chance's investigation zeroes in on her role in altering evidence tied to Matt's death. And when she learns that the key witness has not only come forward but is being held under police protection, panic drives her to a dangerous gamble as she secretly contacts Ian Ward, offering him leverage in exchange for making the witness disappear, unaware that Ian has already made his own move. While at the hospital, Sienna's condition takes a terrifying turn as her heart rate spikes during a tense interrogation, forcing Nick to choose between pushing for answers and saving her life. And as doctors rush in, Sienna whispers another chilling fragment of truth, that Matt was just a pawn, that the real mastermind promised him protection and money in exchange for obedience. And Nick realizes with horror that the trail leads straight back to the people he loves most. While at society, Adam and Sally pore over the documents exposing Victor's long-term involvement in covering up Matt's crimes, and Adam, fueled by years of resentment and betrayal, decides this time he won't confront his father. He'll destroy him publicly, leaking the evidence to a journalist who's been waiting years for the Newman empire to crack, while Sally hesitates, warning Adam that once this detonates there's no going back. But Adam, eyes blazing, says there's nothing left to save. While across town, Mariah's fear escalates into full-blown terror when she realizes the cryptic threat she received didn't come from Ian, but from someone much closer, someone embedded within her own family. And as she confides in Tessa, a horrifying possibility emerges, that Sharon may be hiding something far more dangerous than anyone imagined. While at the police station, Chance discovers that evidence he secured earlier in the day has vanished from lockup, replaced with a mocking note that reads, "Truth has a price." And the realization hits him like a punch to the gut that someone inside the department is compromised, leaving him isolated and vulnerable, while Nikki, desperate to atone, seeks out Diane in a quiet, raw confrontation where she finally admits the full truth about her past with Jack and how Victor exploited it for years to control them both. And Diane, shaking with anger and grief, realizes her nightmare was never about a single gunshot but about being trapped in the crossfire of decades-old sins. While the tension reaches a breaking point when Phyllis learns that Ian has double-crossed her, delivering her name directly to Chance in exchange for immunity on another case. And as Phyllis realizes she's been outplayed, desperation turns to recklessness, pushing her to make a phone call that will haunt Genoa City forever. While at the Newman Ranch, Victor receives word that a major investor has pulled out after anonymous leaks begin circulating online, and for the first time, the empire begins to bleed. While Nick confronts Adam, accusing him of starting a war that could destroy the entire family, but Adam fires back that the family was already destroyed the moment Victor decided power mattered more than blood. And as the brothers stand on opposite sides of an irreversible line, sirens wail in the distance, signaling that someone somewhere has crossed a deadly threshold, while the episode barrels toward its devastating climax as Chance rushes to a remote location following a last-minute tip only to find the protected witness dead, staged to look like a suicide, but with a single word carved nearby, Newman. And as Chance stares at the scene, realizing how high the conspiracy truly goes, the final moments cut between Diane packing her bags to flee Genoa City, Nikki standing at the edge of a relapse she may not survive, Jack collapsing into a chair realizing he's lost everyone who mattered, Phyllis watching police lights flood her driveway, Adam sending the final file to the press, and Victor Newman standing alone in the dark, his empire crumbling around him as a chilling truth settles over Genoa City. This was never just about secrets coming out, it was about who would survive once the lies stopped protecting them, and by the time dawn breaks, at least one character's fate will be sealed forever because this time, redemption may not be possible, and the cost of the truth will be paid in blood. As the final hours of December 30th, 2025 crawl toward dawn, Genoa City reaches the moment it can never come back from, because every secret exposed has ignited something darker than anger, desperation. And it begins at the Newman Ranch where Victor Newman, stripped of allies and bleeding power by the minute, receives confirmation that Adam's leak has gone public, triggering a financial freefall that wipes out billions overnight. And for the first time in his life, Victor cannot intimidate, threaten, or manipulate his way out, while upstairs Nikki stands frozen, clutching a bottle she swore she'd never touch again, her hands shaking as police scanners echo through the house announcing arrests, raids, and sealed indictments tied to Victor's empire. And when Victor storms into the room demanding Nikki stand by him one last time, she finally says the words that shatter what remains of his control, that she's choosing truth over him, and Victor, pushed past the edge of reason, accuses her of betrayal so viciously that Nikki collapses under the weight of decades of guilt, while across town Jack Abbott drives recklessly through the night, haunted by Diane's tear-stained face as she fled Genoa City, realizing too late that his silence and cowardice didn't protect anyone but instead set the stage for violence. And when he pulls over outside the abandoned warehouse where Chance has traced the conspiracy's final thread, Jack walks straight into a nightmare, because inside he finds Chance, wounded and bleeding, barely conscious, after being ambushed for refusing to bury the truth. And as Jack calls for help, Chance gasps out the revelation that confirms everyone's worst fear. The mastermind didn't just manipulate events, he ordered deaths, and Jack understands with crushing clarity that this scandal will stain his family forever. While at the police station, chaos erupts as Phyllis Summers is arrested, screaming that everyone else is just as guilty, her bravado collapsing into hysterical fury as she realizes Ian Ward sold her out completely, and as she's dragged away, she locks eyes with Sharon, whispering a warning that freezes Sharon's blood, because Phyllis knows something Sharon has been hiding, something that connects her far deeper to Ian's resurgence than anyone realizes. While at Society, Adam watches the news feeds in grim silence as the Newman name becomes synonymous with corruption and bloodshed, and though he tells himself this is justice, the hollow victory sinks in when Sally asks him if destroying his father was worth losing his family forever, and Adam has no answer, because Nick arrives moments later, devastated and furious, accusing Adam of triggering consequences none of them can survive, while Nick himself is racing against time after receiving a panicked call from the hospital that Sienna has vanished, ripped from her room under mysterious circumstances, and as Nick realizes she was the final living witness, dread claws through him, knowing whoever orchestrated this won't stop until every loose end is erased, while Mariah's world collapses when she finally confronts Sharon, demanding the truth about her connection to Ian Ward, and Sharon breaks down, confessing that years ago she cut a secret deal to protect her family, never realizing Ian would use it as leverage to rebuild his empire from the shadows. And as Mariah recoils in horror, understanding that her own mother unintentionally helped unleash this nightmare, the cost of silence becomes unbearable. While back at the Newman Ranch, tragedy strikes with merciless finality as Nikki, overwhelmed by shame and grief, disappears into the night, and when Victor finds her hours later unconscious after relapsing, paramedics rush her to the hospital, but the damage is done, and Victor stands helpless for the first time as doctors fight to save the woman he drove to the brink, while at the same time Chance, refusing to die before exposing the truth, drags himself into a press conference broadcast live across the nation, revealing evidence tying Victor Newman directly to witness intimidation, obstruction of justice and sanctioned violence. And as the room erupts, Victor watches from a hospital hallway as his legacy collapses in real time, while sirens wail outside announcing his imminent arrest. And in a final cruel twist, Diane returns to Genoa City after receiving an anonymous message promising closure, only to walk into a trap meant to silence her forever, forcing Jack to race through the darkness once more, arriving just in time to hear a single gunshot echo through the empty building. And as police lights flood the scene, Jack collapses beside Diane's motionless body, screaming her name into the void, realizing the ultimate price of his past choices. While the episode's final moments intercut mercilessly, Nick discovering Sienna's bloodstained belongings abandoned on a roadside, Adam being served with a subpoena that proves no one escapes the fallout, Sharon holding Mariah as her daughter sobs that forgiveness may be impossible, Phyllis staring blankly from a jail cell realizing she's finally lost control, and Victor Newman being handcuffed as he passes Nikki's hospital room, unable to enter, unable to fix what he's broken. And as dawn breaks over Genoa City, it becomes horrifyingly clear that this was never about scandal or power, but about the moment every character crossed a line they can never uncross, because one life may be lost, another may never recover, and every family is permanently scarred, leaving the haunting truth hanging in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Some sins demand everything, and in Genoa City, the point of no return has finally been reached. In the quiet days that follow the catastrophe, Genoa City feels like a town waking up after a nightmare it can't forget, because the damage is no longer loud or explosive but deep, permanent, and written on the faces of those who survived, beginning at the hospital where Nikki Newman remains alive but fragile, her relapse leaving scars not just on her body but on her spirit, and though doctors say she will recover physically, Victor is barred from her room by both medical staff and a restraining order tied to his arrest, forcing him to sit alone in a sterile holding cell replaying every choice that led him here, finally realizing too late that power could not save the one person he truly loved. While Victor Newman himself survives but loses everything that ever defined him, Newman Enterprises fractured beyond repair, allies turning state's evidence, his name synonymous with corruption, and as he's transferred to a secure facility to await trial, the once untouchable Titan is reduced to a man haunted by the silence he can no longer control, while across town Jack Abbott survives his worst fear but not his guilt, because Diane Jenkins does not die from the gunshot wound, yet she emerges from surgery changed forever, her life saved at the cost of her trust, her hope, and her belief that love can protect her. And when Jack finally sits beside her bed, she opens her eyes only long enough to tell him that survival doesn't mean forgiveness, and that some wounds heal only by walking away, leaving Jack to face the brutal truth that losing Diane emotionally may hurt more than losing her physically ever could. While Nick Newman survives as the moral center battered but unbroken, though his heart fractures when Sienna is officially declared missing and presumed dead after weeks of searching uncover nothing but silence, forcing Nick to accept that saving everyone was never possible. Yet his resolve hardens as he commits himself to dismantling what remains of his father's legacy in hopes that truth might still mean something, while Adam Newman survives too, but his victory tastes like ash as he stands alone in a penthouse stripped of family warmth, subpoenaed, scrutinized, and forever labeled the son who helped bring down the empire. Yet for the first time Adam sleeps without needing approval, knowing that although he lost his family's love, he reclaimed his own soul, while Sharon Rosales survives the exposure of her secret deal with Ian Ward. But the cost is devastating as Mariah pulls away, unable to reconcile her mother's fear-driven choices with the destruction they enabled, leaving Sharon to face the long, lonely road of accountability and redemption without the guarantee of forgiveness, while Ian Ward himself does not escape justice, captured quietly in another state after attempting to flee with false documents. His arrest closing one chapter of terror, but leaving behind echoes of manipulation that will haunt Genoa City for years. While Phyllis Summer survives incarceration but loses the one thing she always believed untouchable, control, as she sits in a prison cell stripped of influence, allies, and leverage, forced at last to confront a mirror that doesn't bend to her will, and though she promises herself she'll rise again, even she knows something fundamental has shifted, while Chance Chancellor survives his injuries and becomes the unlikely symbol of integrity in a town desperate for one, promoted yet burdened by the knowledge that justice came at the cost of blood, fear, and near death. But he carries on because someone has to believe the truth still matters, while Nikki, upon waking fully, begins the slow work of recovery, not just from relapse but from decades of emotional captivity, choosing a future defined by honesty rather than fear. And though she mourns the man Victor once was, she finally lets go of the man he became, while Victor, facing trial and isolation, is left with nothing but time and regret, a survivor stripped of legacy, finally forced to live with the consequences he once believed only applied to others. And as Genoa City slowly rebuilds, alliances realign, families redefine themselves, and scars remain visible in every familiar place, it becomes clear who truly survived. Not those who kept power, money, or control, but those who endured the truth and chose to live differently because of it. And as the camera pulls back on a city forever altered, one final truth settles over Genoa City like a quiet vow whispered into the wind. Survival is not victory, redemption is not guaranteed, and the past never truly dies. But sometimes, if the cost is paid in full, a future can still begin.